So we have a list of questions. It's more like an FAQ session. And for starters, I think the biggest thing or the misconception on my side as well, and feel free to chime in as well, is the difference between marketing versus branding. And that you could probably do a whole 6-hour series on. But in short, like to me, marketing is more when you have a tangible product that you want somebody to buy, right?
Exactly.
Whereas branding is more about letting people know who you are and what you do. To me, that's the simplest way to answer the question. But what I've found, especially in Japan, is that there's a fine line between what marketing teams do and what, let's say, the recruiting team or the HR team or the talent acquisition team should be doing for employer branding. That's my biggest pain point, and I know that like a lot of the clients that we work with, we have, kind of mission creep sometimes between what marketing wants and what the branding should be and those kind of things. So yeah, for starters, I mean, what's your conception of marketing versus branding, or what's your definition, or what's your insight between marketing and branding?
I mean, I do think that a lot of people will interchange them without realizing that they can be two different concepts, but some people are unaware of the differences between branding and marketing. When it comes to budgets, though, I think that can be another issue too. Where does the marketing budget apply to branding for a company, or is there a separate budget for branding that's unique in that case, which can sometimes, I think, cause some confusion, especially like initial talks with a client. You need to find out where that money is coming from and which budgets they can allocate to your product or what we're trying to make for them.
Definitely, yeah.
I agree, exactly. And I think sometimes, if you imagine it like a Venn diagram where you have marketing and employee brand or employer branding, and where they intersect, you can see how employer branding actually supports marketing, and marketing is a way of communicating some of the employer branding as well, because you want your customers to know who your company is and what they represent, I think, so it's
definitely, yeah. Do you come across that as well, Dermot?
I come across it a little bit, and again, I come across the confusion sometimes about the difference between the two. But in my mind, it's the marketing is all of the tools of selling and promoting yourself to the marketplace and getting them to understand what it is you have to offer. Whereas the branding is really about who you are, what you stand for, and how you differentiate yourself from others in the market. So I feel the two go side by side, but they are different, and there has to be a clear focus on each of them in order to develop and have them be strong in the marketplace.
Yep, no, definitely. And going back to that, like if we were working with a client, or when we work with a client, it's more about, there may be only video components, or there may only be marketing components, or just photographic components as well, right? So it gets a bit more complex,
right?
In terms of what you want to do. We're going to come back to a lot of the photography points as well, but probably the bulk of it is going to be spent on the video and the media process. But
I do think that when people think of marketing, they're more inclined to consider things like video and photography, that kind of naturally leads to those things. Yeah, visuals. Whereas with branding, it's a little bit more vague to a lot of companies and people. They're maybe not quite sure about how those creative outlets can be used for their employer branding.
It's like you get a bit of the ideological side in the branding, whereas like you were saying, with branding and marketing have so many visual aspects, but the branding is where you can talk about who you are and what you believe in and what you represent and that.
Yeah. So, for all intents and purposes, I think what we should do is, our version of what is the difference between marketing, and then I'll leave that with a definition or something, and branding, and then they'll do that, yeah. So maybe just put a definition of marketing and branding up. Yeah. Our definition.
Sounds good, yeah. I think that would be a good way to clarify what we said.
Cool.